Have you ever wondered how a small village on the banks of a river could grow to command the known world? How did a city, born from myth and legend, become the heart of an empire that shaped Western civilization forever? This is the story of Rome. Not just a city of marble and monuments, but a city forged in blood, ambition, and an unrelenting will to conquer. Our story begins in 753 BC. Imagine this, a cluster of humble huts nestled between 7 hills, overlooking the winding Tiber River. This is not the grand Rome we picture today. It's a small, unremarkable settlement, surrounded by more powerful neighbors. But within this fledgling community lies the seed of an empire, a seed watered by a story as dark and powerful as the city it would create. This is the legend of Romulus and Remus, twin brothers, sons of a princess and, some say, the war god Mars himself. Cast out as infants, left to die by a jealous king, their fate seemed sealed. But the river gods showed mercy. Their basket washed ashore, and they were found by a she-wolf, the Lupa, who suckled them as her own. She raised them, protected them, until a shepherd discovered the boys and took them in. They grew up strong, wild, and born leaders like the sons of a god should be. They were natural survivors, charismatic and ruthless. When they came of age and learned of their royal heritage, they returned to their ancestral home, overthrew the unjust king, and restored their grandfather to the throne. But greatness wasn't satisfied with simply restoring the past. They wanted to build something new, a city of their own, right where the she-wolf had found them. And here the bond of brotherhood shattered against the rock of ambition. They couldn't agree on which hill to build their city. Romulus chose the Palatine Hill, Remus the Aventine. They sought a sign from the gods. But then, Romulus saw 12, a sign twice as powerful. The dispute escalated. Romulus began digging a trench to mark the walls of his new city. In a moment of bitter mockery, Remus leaped over the shallow ditch, scorning his brother's pathetic defenses. For Romulus, this was the ultimate betrayal. It was a challenge to his authority, a violation of his sacred boundary. In a fit of rage, he struck his brother down. As Remus lay dying, Romulus declared, "So shall it be for all who dare to cross my walls." And so the city was founded. Romulus named it after himself, Rome. This story, whether truth or myth, is the perfect origin for Rome. It captures the city's very soul. It's a story of divine origins, of struggle and survival against all odds. But it's also a story of brutal pragmatism, where even the sacred bond of family can be sacrificed for the sake of power, for the sake of the city. The murder of Remus at the founding of Rome set a precedent. The state, the city, its security, and its glory were paramount, above all else. This was a hard lesson, learned at the very beginning, and it would echo through Roman history for 1,000 years. In its earliest days, Rome was just one small city-state among many in the Italian peninsula. The Latins, the Sabines, the Samnites, and to the north, the highly advanced Etruscans. Rome was not the strongest, not the wealthiest, and certainly not the most cultured. But the early Romans possessed a quality that would prove to be their ultimate weapon, an unparalleled ability to learn, to adapt, and to absorb. They were sponges, soaking up the best of everyone around them. From their sophisticated neighbors, the Etruscans, they learned the arts of civilization. They learned the rituals of augury, how to read the will of the gods in the flight of birds and the entrails of animals. Etruscan kings even ruled Rome for a time, shaping its urban layout and political institutions. The Romans didn't resent this. They observed, they learned, and eventually they surpassed their teachers. From the Greek colonies, flourishing in southern Italy, they absorbed culture, philosophy, and mythology. They saw the beauty of Greek sculpture, the power of their literature, the logic of their philosophy. They adopted the Greek gods, giving them Roman names. Zeus became Jupiter. Hera became Juno, and Ares, their beloved Mars. They imported Greek art, hired Greek tutors, and modeled their own literature on the Greek epics. They saw Greek culture as a mark of sophistication, something to aspire to, even as they conquered the Greeks themselves. And from their enemies, from every tribe they fought and every battle they waged, they learned the most important lesson of all: how to make war. Each defeat was a lesson. Each new enemy was a new teacher. They learned the guerrilla tactics of the mountain tribes. They adopted the weapons and armor of their adversaries, constantly improving their own. They learned how to build fortified camps, how to organize legions with discipline and flexibility. War wasn't just about conquest for the Romans, it was a process of constant, ruthless evolution. They were not born the greatest soldiers in the world. This unique combination of ruthless ambition, born from their founding myth, and a relentless drive to learn from everyone around them was the engine of Rome's rise. While other cities were content with their traditions, Rome was constantly changing, constantly improving, constantly hungry for more. This hunger would soon lead them out of their 7 hills, beyond the Italian peninsula, and onto the world stage. The small settlement on the Tiber was ready to build an empire. The next great leap for Rome came with the overthrow of their last Etruscan king and the birth of a radical new idea: a republic, res publica, the public thing, a system where citizens would govern themselves. This revolution wasn't just a change in leadership, it was a fundamental shift in the Roman mindset. It instilled in them a fierce pride, a sense of shared ownership and responsibility for their city's destiny. The Roman citizen was not a subject, but a participant. This new republic, however, was immediately tested. Surrounded by hostile neighbors who saw a chance to crush the upstart city, Rome found itself in a constant fight for survival. This period, the early republic, was a crucible that forged the Roman character. It was an era of legendary heroes like Cincinnatus, the farmer who left his plow to become dictator, saved Rome, and then willingly gave up power to return to his farm. Stories like these reinforced the Roman ideals of duty, sacrifice, and service to the state. Their expansion began slowly, first by conquering and absorbing their immediate Latin neighbors. But their ambition was limitless. They pushed south, clashing with the tough Samnite tribes in a series of brutal wars that lasted for decades. They pushed north, finally breaking the power of the Etruscans. By 264 BC, after centuries of near-constant warfare, Rome controlled the entire Italian peninsula. They were no longer just a city, they were a power. But now, as masters of Italy, they looked across the sea and saw a rival. The clash between these two titans was inevitable. The Punic Wars would be a struggle on an epic scale, a fight to the death that would decide the fate of the Mediterranean world. It would produce one of history's greatest military geniuses, Hannibal, and it would push Rome to the very brink of annihilation. But it would also be the final brutal test that would transform the Roman Republic into the Roman Empire. The legend was becoming reality. Thank you for joining us on this journey back to the dawn of Rome. If you want to see how this republic faced its greatest challenge and rose to become an empire, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Do you want to forget to hit the notification bell so you won't miss the next chapter in our story? See you next time.